Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome back to more questions for a floating head. This is, we have come to understand, the second broadcast of the day of this program, which should really only happen once, but it has come to our attention that there was an unauthorized broadcast from a former Bob Doyle Show floating head, Steve Dalington, notorious for taking over live streams and broadcasting at a low quality. So we have come to understand that there is a broadcast from earlier today on this timeline done by Steve Dalington that was broadcast at a lower quality than is the standard of this program. So we apologize in advance. Let's go to your comments now. Okay, well, there doesn't seem to be any comments right now, but the purpose, of course, of this broadcast is for you, the viewer, to ask whatever questions you may have of a floating head. Now, I did not get a chance to review the broadcast from earlier today, where Steve Dalington took over and apparently answered some kind of questions related to being a floating head. But as I say, I did not evaluate these, so I cannot speak for their validity one way or the other. So if you have questions about, not even about being a floating head, but just questions for a floating head, such as myself. My name's Terry, by the way, Terry Floating Headington, and I am a long-time employee of the Bob Doyle Show as a floating head to answer questions about, or answer questions that you may have for a floating head. Let's go to your questions now and check in. Okay, no more questions have been posted, so not real sure, because normally, and it may be because of Steve Dalington's unfortunate broadcast today at a lower quality, that people are seeing this on the timeline and going, oh, I know, I saw this today, and it was of a poor quality. So I'm going to skip it. And that's unfortunate because, of course, who's paying the price? Well, me, Terry Floating Headington. Hello, Amy. Amy now has asked a question, and that's great because that's what this is all about. It's about asking floating heads questions. Now, her question, if you'll notice, was about how I brush my hair without any hands. Well, clearly I don't do that. I have someone else do it. I have a professional hair brusher. Her name's Michelle. She's great. She's really great. She's been brushing my hair for, well, as long as I can remember. Well, that's not true. We did have, what was her name? Lydia, oh boy. Michelle took leave, maternity leave, and so Lydia came in and brushed my hair for a while. Oh my God. Seriously. You do not even want to know. It was not a pretty sight. So anyway, I don't brush my hair. I don't brush my teeth. I don't do anything that requires hands because I don't have any. You see. Maybe that wasn't. If I turn around, can you see? No hands. Let's go to your questions now for a floating head. Andy's watching. Hi, Andy. My name's Terry Floating Headington. How are you? Do you have a question for a floating head? Now remember, it doesn't have to be about being a floating head. It's just any question you have that you'd like to direct to a head that happens to be floating, such as me, Terry Floating Headington. Now, I don't know, did you by chance see the earlier broadcast with Steve Dalington? Because if you did, I'm sure it's much, much different than what you're getting from me, right? Probably incoherent answers about I don't even know what, not like I'm giving, with the real answers that you can take to the bank if you want to. If you need to go to the bank with answers, you could take these. They're fine. It's fine with me. Thank you. I don't know if you guys can hear, but I'm at a stadium, and something just happened in the background. It sounds like something great just happened. What it sounds like. Let's go to your questions right now for a floating head. Colleen asks, So when do you think we'll get back to filling arenas like this for sporting events and concerts, etc.? That's a great question that you have for a floating head, given that I'm in front of a stadium filled with people at a time where social distancing is happening, and this gathering here would be quite illegal and a very, very bad idea. So what do I do with that question? What do I do with the fact that I've just been nailed in front, seen in front of all of these people? I don't know. I think I need to move on. What was the question again? Let's go back and look. When do I think? I don't. I'm not paid to think, unfortunately. I'm just paid to answer questions for a floating head. Although you would think, which I just said am not paid to do, that thinking would be a part of answering the questions, right? I know, it's weird, it's twisty, I get it. You can leave a comment or a suggestion in the comments box later. Let's check out who else has a question. Have you been fined for breaking the law of gravity? I have not been fined. I have been, well, that's just fined. Really obnoxious. There's this woman, and that's like her thing. It's just all passive aggressive. You know, I'm floating around, well, that's just fine. That's what she says. And I'm like, well, is it not fine? No, I said it was just fine. And I'm like, well, I know, but the way you said it, it doesn't really sound like it's fine. It sounds like you got a problem with it. And she's like, well, if you can't take me at the words I say, and I'm like, well, it's the way you're saying it, ma'am. Anyway, sure, I don't have to tell you about that. Let's go to your comments, however. What's going on? I must have pushed the wrong button. Where is my body? Says Joe. Well, the thing is, that suggests that I ever had one. And I didn't. No, I was born a head with the ability to float, which, of course, if you can, you will, right? And, yeah. So, well, you know what? Here's the real honest. I don't know if I did have a body, unless like something's happening in the stadium. If I did have a body, I've never seen pictures of it. I wasn't told anything about it. As far as I know, I've just been this. And you know what? I've come to terms with it. I love the fact that I'm just a head. It's okay with me. Just think, I don't have to buy clothes. I never, ever have to worry about fashion. Ever. Not even a little. Because I'm not going to get earrings or any of that. It's just not me. You know what I mean? So I can't answer the question about the body because if there is one, I don't know where it is. Okay? I hope that's, I tried to answer, but I just don't have that answer. How don't you not know about your own body? Well, look, all I know is what I was told. And if they didn't share the information with me, what am I going to do? Make it up? I could make it up. Okay, I'm going to make it up. My body is in a secret chamber, buried 7.5 feet below the ground, encased in ice, a special kind of ice that never melts, and is magic, and tastes like chocolate on Wednesdays. Other than that, it just is like ice. But you don't want to drink it, because it never melts. And if you were to swallow it, you'd have ice in you forever. Because never is a long, long time. What's the next question? There is no next question. Did I miss one? Oh boy. Well, this is what it is sometimes when your page is hacked by Steve Dalington. And he does some sort of, questions for a floating head unauthorized broadcast. It just paints the whole thing and then I come on here to do a legit job, and everybody's like, I saw that already. But you didn't. You saw Steve, or Dale, as he likes to be called, but his name is Steve Dalington. He lives at 123 Any Street in Maintown, USA, zip code 12345. His phone number? 012-345-6789. His Twitter? Steve or Dale, a.k.a. Steve Dalington. It's a long Twitter handle. That's why he has no followers. All right, let's go to your questions. Where is Tracy's head? Now, I do happen to know who Tracy is because this broadcast is affiliated with the Bob Doyle Show, and we all know. Right. We all know. Tracy is usually not too far behind him, but I'm not him. So there you go. There's your answer, don't you know? They were just on a broadcast outside. I think, for all I know, he's napping. He's been feeling old lately. He probably did that broadcast with Tracy, came inside, well, that's it for me. I'm going to lay down for a little bit. That's how he talks, by the way, when he's not, on a microphone, trying to be all, hey, I'm Bob Doyle. Hey, I'm Bob Doyle. Look, I don't know why I'm trashing the guy. He pays my salary. Let's go to your questions. Do you know how insanely funny you are? Well, no. Do you know why I don't know? Because the analytics on that kind of thing are sketchy at best. Do you know how easy it is for people to hack in? And they do that and they screw up the curve. So the data is just like, so I just have to let go of it. Now, if you're suggesting that it is your opinion that I am funny, or you could have just been saying, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, do you know how insanely funny you are? And your opinion is it could be 0, and you're just curious if I knew that. So I shouldn't just assume that you mean that you think I'm quote unquote insanely funny. Huh. Because when you make mistakes like that, oh man, that's rough. Joe, hello. Or goodbye, whatever it is you're saying right there. Andy loves my show. The Terry Floating Headington Show. He's seen it a few times, has he? Because, this is the longest running floating head show on the internet. Ah, that's right. If you fact check it. And if you don't like my attitude, you need to read the reviews of the show because they all say, oh, he's the head you love to hate. That was the slug line for like 20 years. I know I look too young to have been doing this for 20 years, and Bob Doyle hasn't even been brought. Don't ask these types of questions. It's going to ruin your life. All right. Well, I don't see any new questions. So I'm going to take down the question board so that the dog show can happen. We have 72 poodles lined up right off the, oh, wait a minute, they're leaving. Well, that changes things. I guess we'll go back to your comments. Love your show, says Jason. So, another fan of the Terry Floating Headington Show. Longest running floating head show on the internet and elsewhere. You might be thinking, I think I've seen some floating head shows. And I'm here to say, no, you haven't. You think maybe you have. Or maybe you saw some show where there was a special effect of a floating head. But as you can see, I'm the real deal, Lucille. I was talking to Lucille just then. She walked in the room behind you, but she's gone now. Because that's her way, right? She just pops in, Lucille, out. Weird. I mean, she's nice, but she's weird, right? I mean, that's not just me. I think we can all agree that Lucille is You know. Let's go to your questions. There aren't any. Well, it's tradition here. Hey, what's that you're clearing, Terry, as you have no throat? See, I wasn't going to dodge that. I know you were thinking it. Because I can tell. You guys are all just analytical like that. It's like, well, if he's, how can he, and then, That's why I've written an ebook, How Floating Heads Do Everything, by Terry Floating Headington. It's only $67 USD, and you can PayPal me, Venmo, I don't know, you could, whatever. And I'll send you this ebook as soon as it's proofread. And then you can learn how I eat and how I clear my throat, whatever it is that I clear. You probably got other questions too. Of course, you had the chance to ask them. That's what this whole thing was about. Some of you did. Some of you showed up. Well, you all showed up, even if it's the replay. Thanks. If you have a question for a floating head, I guess you could leave it in the COMMENTS. Let's check those right now. Oh, no updates. It's a sad story. I guess everybody's just tired of seeing floating heads all the time. Like, oh no, another floating head on my timeline on Facebook? Can a day go by? Can a day go by where I don't see a floating head? No, there's not. No one's saying that. Because I'm the only floating head on the internet right this minute. Probably. Certainly the only one talking to you. And you would think that each and every one of you would take this opportunity to say, oh my God, I'm in low power mode. And then tell everybody there's a floating head on Facebook. You got to come talk to him. He's got a bad attitude. And he's taking it out on the viewers. It's great. You got to check it out. Do you rewatch your own shows? Of course I do. Of course I do. I'm going to watch it immediately after this. I'm going to watch it again before I go to bed. I'm going to set my alarm to it, wake up, watch it. Yeah, of course, I saturate myself in it. Saturate myself. Why wouldn't I? Look at it. I'm a floating head in the stadium. Of course I watch it. Any other questions? Let's find out. You're ahead of the game, says Russ. Russ is celebrating the publication of his new joke book, and that was on page 11. Let's look at it again. You're ahead of the game. I'm ahead, game even, in the background. I'm ahead of the game. It's a double whammy, Russ. You nailed it. You know what I mean? You gotta feel good about that. You gotta feel really good. Jason doesn't notice my attitude. Good, because I've been really suppressing it well, I think. But hey, that's why I get the big ratings, If I didn't have attitude, I'd just be another floating head. I mean, there's this whole idea that floating heads got to be so nice and all that stuff because, whatever, they're floating. Well, guess what? It's not all fun and games, as you might imagine. I mean, I like having my hairbrush, but, I wouldn't mind shooting a game of pool or something. John Jr., total quarantine hours. Yes. Yes, this could be the effect of too much quarantine. We'll never know. There is no way to know. All right, let's get back. We've got more praise from the fans. And we're writing it all down, and we're going to put it on a gold record and shoot it up into space. And that's going to be great, because you know, we got to get that stuff out there. I mean, it's space, right? So somebody's got to do it. Let's go to your comments. Okay, well, I think at this point, I'm just going to float on out of here by ending the broadcast. It's been great, of course, but my transmitting device has given me the low battery power signal thing. And if I don't heat it, therapy, I'll need it? No. If I don't heat it, if I don't feed it, then who's gonna feed it? All right, I'm gonna stop there. Russ is bringing us out, ladies and gentlemen, with page 17 from his new joke book. This time, it goes like this. You've made some good headway. Headway. What's a headway? Oh, about 8 pounds. Is that accurate? I don't know. I'm going to go weigh myself.